Okay, I forgot to add this in the actual video itself, but here are the actual P&L breakdowns. I made $6,811 on one of the executions, and this was the portion I was trying to swing trade, but I ended up just getting all out of it for $340. So together it's a little over 7,150. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure you guys saw the P&L breakdown, and I forgot to include it completely. So here you guys go, and I hope you enjoy the video. All right, how's it going, everyone? Hope you're doing well today. I'm back with another video, except this time I'm breaking down my silver trade from January 29th, 2026. And this is much different than the crypto trade in the last video, even though it's the same psychology, except this one's to the upside, not the downside. This one's pure euphoria, not pure panic. Very similar in a lot of ways, but also extremely different in terms of the actual instrument and asset class. I mean, silver and crypto are completely different things. So there's some nuances here, which I'm excited to discuss. And then also, in the last video, I was like, yeah, there's no changes I really would have made about this trade. I'm pretty happy with it overall. Maybe there's like some small things, which I didn't even feel like mentioning, but this trade, there are so many things I could improve on and change that could have made my performance, I mean, even 10x what it was. I feel like I didn't do anything on this. I mean, I did all right, but this could have been a monster trade. And that's a lot of what this video is going to be about. There's really not that much to explain in terms of the selection. I feel like it's pretty obvious. I still will explain it, but it's going to be kind of, there's not going to be a whole lot of depth to it, really. The main thing for me is the improvements I could have made, and there's a lot of them. So, and I'm excited to share that because we are not perfect as traders at all. It's a very imperfect business. That's just how it is. And there's literally always room to improve. I mean, I don't think I've ever taken a trade, whether it went really good or really bad, where I'm like, wow, I could have done better. You can always do better. It's very, very clear. And I'm just excited to share that with you guys. And yeah, let's just dive right in. So, in terms of the bigger picture, unless you've been living under a rock, I mean, silver went from 30, 40 bucks to like over 100 in a very short period of time. I mean, as you can see, I mean, we were kind of in a range for years. I mean, there was really nothing going on here. I mean, to me, this is like, if you're trading this, I don't know what's wrong with you. This is just noise. Being an investor, that's one thing, but again, that's not what I'm doing here. And so, whenever we start to get these breakouts to the upside here, I mean, these are really good to the long side. I'm sure people crush this all the way up. However, for me, it's not really the game I play. It's just not my thing. I'd rather wait for, like I said, those extremes of pure euphoria, pure panic, and then be getting involved. I just find that to be very scalable and very, very probable if you know what you're looking for. So, yeah, that's the main thing. Checklist number one for me was like, okay, we have a consistent trend to the upside, and then that slope starts to increase, and then those emotions start to set in. Things start to go parabolic, get very euphoric. And so for me, that was really checklist number one for the trade. Um, we have increased slope and euphoric price action. And then number two was around this time, funny enough, my mom started to tell me about her friend who, she's not an investor, she's not a trader. She was talking about how she was looking to pay a premium to her friend silver and buy it for like 120 bucks or something because she thought it was going to hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, all right. For me, that is a huge check in my favor. I'm thinking, great. This is probably about to get super nasty. And yeah, essentially, when things are stretched too far, like I explained in the last video, the rubber band is stretched too far, it pops back. And that's exactly what we were thinking here. So, pure sentiment, euphoria, non-traders / investors looking to pay up. And then number three, if you just went on Twitter and you looked around a little bit, you would notice that everyone was talking about buying calls every single day, and just that silver is going to a couple $100 this year. And it's in these times when you have to remember that people are people, they're going to make mistakes, and nothing lasts forever. It's just how it goes in the market, right? Whenever things start to get too easy, you should get nervous. So starting to look easy everyone is printing money on calls each day. Outlandish price targets for 2026. So, I mean, it's really as simple as this. Like I said, there's not a whole lot in terms of selection here. I feel like it's super obvious. I mean, it's very kindergarten in terms of the overall why behind this trade and why it was so interesting. Now, the timing itself is where it gets tricky, and I'll be the first to admit that commodities are not easy to trade. Commodities do not move as cleanly as like, your small cap stocks or even like crypto. It just does not move the same. It's very hard to time, and so for me, I was very big picture with this once I entered. Even though I ended up entering the day before the crash, I was still willing to be bigger picture with it because I thought these prices were fantastic for a short. And so for me, the first thing that really got me interested was this day here, this little red day here. This was the largest volume that we had seen in a very long time by multiples. It wasn't just like a little bit. We're talking about like double. So that to me is a huge indicator that, okay, the top is very, very close. However, I didn't start getting short there. I started to get short actually in this green day here. I wanted to see a retest of these highs just because we failed to break below. And if this was really going to go in a short period of time, we would have broken that low and just not looked back. Similar to this gap down here. We would have just not looked back, right? So to me, whenever this low held after this big volume day, I was like, okay, we're probably going to go to that high. And I want to wait till we get there and just kind of see how it acts. And so this particular day here, that is where I got short. I ended up shorting full size into the close that day and just actually expecting a gap down. We didn't end up getting a gap down. We actually got a small gap up, which is fine. Like I said, I was looking to be bigger picture with this. But if you notice, a lot of the time, whenever gold or silver closes on highs, it does gap down, like very often. So I remember that from a prior setup over the summer, and that's just the way I was willing to play it personally. I'm not saying that's the right or wrong way. Like I said, there's actually some things I would change about this, which most of this video is going to be about. But in terms of how I actually executed, that's what I did. I ended up shorting this day here, which you can see right here. I actually shorted some midday and ended up covering some of it. And took a realized loss, but I was still in the same position you're seeing. So it ended up netting, like I said, 7,150, which I'll show you guys in a minute. But I ended up trimming some there, and then I added back everything on the close here. And again, I'm not sure why it's not showing my ads once I'm in a position. I need to just start taking more screenshots of my executions on Cobra, the broker I use. But yeah, this clearly is not that good in terms of arrows and showing me where I actually entered and exited. At least for my ads, like my exit's accurate, these starter positions are accurate, but it's not showing my ads for whatever reason. But that being said, I was fully short this day and essentially looking to be big picture. I really didn't think this was going to go higher than probably 120 or 125. And so I was willing to draw down a little bit and actually add more at certain levels. And whenever the backside started to confirm. And so breaking down to my actual exit, or actually, well, let's just go into the day of. So we ended up gapping up, and again, I'm short from these prices. Like it was like 106-ish or 105, somewhere in there. And I was essentially saying, okay, I think that we'll see how price action opens up, and if we can stay heavy, it's probably it. And that's exactly what happened. We open up. I was actually out of the money at this point for a bit. But again, like I said, I was being big picture with this. And I really wanted to add more, but I would have liked to see a bigger gap up, and that didn't happen. So I ended up just basically holding on to what I had. And I pretty much just held on to it through this whole move, and I was waiting for the slope to essentially just increase on the intraday time frame, and I wanted to see big volume to get out. And a mistake I made was I actually got out of this a little earlier than I should have. As you can see, I got out most of my position within like $100 within here. And I really should have just held on to it and been a little more patient and looked for this big volume to get out. But I didn't do that. I ended up covering it a little early, which cost me about $5,000. But it is what it is. Like I said, I did not perform very well in this, in my opinion. So it just is what it is. And I ended up covering everything literally around the $100 mark in this move down that morning. And that was pretty much everything for me. I held on to a small portion of the position. And I ended up covering that later in the day. But yeah, I really didn't crush this at all. So diving into what I'd like to improve is, the first thing is GLD, right? This is gold. I think gold was a much better setup, and I really should have paid attention to this better. We have cleaner closes on highs, consecutive gap ups, and then we have this really big gap up. Most of the traders that I know that made like a couple hundred grand or even some like seven figures, they were trading gold. And looking back, I should have done the same. It was honestly not in my best interest to trade silver. And so that's really the first trade or change I would make is just changing instruments to GLD. It's the first change I would make. Also, holding on better for the intraday exit. That could have been better. Like I just showed you guys here. It cost me like $5,000 just being a little bit impatient. And then also the next change that I would make was I didn't swing any of this. I didn't swing any of it short. And what that means is just holding for a day to multiple days. I didn't swing any of this. And we ended up gapping down, as you can see, to like $80 the next day. And we trended all the way down to the high 60s. And that was very painful for me to watch because I was in no shares at that point. I completely covered everything the prior day for $7,000, which is like, okay, but if I had actually held a little bit longer on the intraday and then swung a portion of the trade, I mean, this was an easy, probably $30,000 trade for me. And yeah, I'm just disappointed that I didn't do that properly. Obviously, it's like a month later now almost, so it is what it is. I'm not like too frustrated about it. I've reconciled it, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's just some major mistakes that I made on this, which I could improve on. Making sure to swing short a portion. And so yeah, this is really all there is to say about the silver trade. I think that my bigger picture thesis was good. I think that the fact I was being very wide with it and not looking to like choke the trade and look for like a quick move very fast was good. However, like I said, I don't think I traded the best instrument. I think GLD was much better and cleaner in terms of the setup. And then also, if you look at GLD during the after hours on the 28th, we got this like parabolic kind of action where it really started to speed up, not only on the daily chart, but the intraday chart. And this was the point where me and some traders were talking and we were like, okay, this is it. Like, this looks like it's finally over and we're going to get that topping action. And whenever I saw that, I really should have just put my focus on GLD and I should have gotten huge in this. Like I said, if I really, I mean, obviously it's hindsight now, in a sense, because I didn't trade it how I'm talking about, but I easily could have made six figures in this trade with a couple of small changes. So again, slightly disappointing, but I'll get there. Again, commodities are not my thing. I am not a great commodity trader yet, and I know that. I'm very like newbie, I guess, in that regard, but it is what it is. So these are the changes I would have made about this trade, just being a little bit better on the intraday, being better in terms of the instrument, and then also swinging a portion of this trade. So hope you guys learned something from this video. Still did okay, but I think this is a great representation of can always get better. Achieving our full potential as traders is like borderline impossible. There's always going to be something to improve on, and that's what's so exciting about it, right? That's why I love it so much, and I can't wait to eventually make six figures in this trade. It's not too far around the corner. Maybe if we get another run like this in the next couple of years, which is probably super rare, not going to happen again for a very long time in the commodity space, you will see me at least making six figures in this trade. So I look forward to making that video one day, but for now, that's all I got, and I'll see you guys next time.